Alright, ladies and gentlemen, time to continue our Module 4 notes. This is going to be for Lesson 29, but it's going to be a bit of a callback to Lesson 25. So it's going to connect very closely, I think. Once you see the connection, the actual work itself is going to go very quickly. For Lesson 29, we will be dividing a whole number by a decimal. Now, that's simplifying it a bit because we're only going to be dividing by 1/10 or 1/100th. Those are the only two decimals we're going to deal with today. You have already done dividing a whole number by a regular decimal, so that not too terribly new. Dividing a whole number by a decimal. Now, we've got 10. And actually, I'm going to have to, no, I can make it fit. There's 20. We're not quite to 30, so we're going to have one less than 30. So you're just barely fitting. There is our 29. Okay. All right, no new vocabulary, but a couple of things to remember. So let's get some reminders. Okay. Reminders. Number one. This one is a little bit of vocabulary, I suppose. A unit fraction, and you know what this is, just any fraction with a numerator of 1. Now I'm bringing this up again because you're going to notice that all of our decimals are going to have 1s in them. This is going to be very closely related. It's very closely connected to this idea of dividing by unit fractions. Like I said, think back to Lesson 4-25. And in that spirit, let's make that a capital W. It's the beginning of the line. When you divide a whole number by a unit fraction. When you divide a whole number by a unit fraction, just multiply, I know it's weird, you're multiplying, multiply the whole, whatever the whole number is, multiply that whole number times the denominator. Times the denominator. Again, what does this have to do with decimals? Well, hopefully we remember that decimals and fractions are very closely related. And as we look at our process for this, I think you're going to see just how much more related they are. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start by giving you, let's see, step 1. Sorry, folks. Step 1. Okay. Write the problem horizontally, and it's kind of like step 1.5, and change the decimal to a fraction. Remember how we've talked before? Just read the fraction to yourself, listen to what you hear. That should guide you towards the fraction. If I give you something that looks like this, 6 divided by 1/100th. Well, again, 6 divided by 1/100th should just look like 6 divided by 1/100th. Remembering your decimal place value is going to be the trickiest part here. We've got a 1 over 100. Will you look at that? It's a unit fraction. Step 2. Solve quickly I shouldn't put that in there, but most of you, again, you're getting this pretty well. Solve by multiplying the whole number times the denominator. The second time we've written this on this page today must be important. 6 divided by 1/100th. Well, just multiply across the bottom. 6 times 100 would be 600. That's it. It's not too terribly challenging or different from what we've done before. It's just recognizing that the decimal is so closely connected to the fraction. Decimal, fraction. Let's do a few examples together. Okay. Let's say I give you 17 divided by 1/10. 17 divided by 1/10. We're saying that, I don't know, we have 17 whole candy bars and we want to give out 1/10 of the candy bar to each kid. That's not much, but for the sake of the problem. 17 divided by 1/10. Well, that would be the same as 17 divided by 1/10, which is the same as just whole number times denominator. 17 times 10. 170. That's it. Now, it can be a little more interesting when we start throwing decimals into the mix. I said whole numbers originally, but you will see a couple spots where you have this type of thing. 5 8/10 divided by 1/100th. Don't let this panic you, because it works the same way. 5 8/10 divided by 1/100 means I'm multiplying 5 8/10 times 100. Now, hopefully you remember, I should say, that when you're multiplying by 100, it's like the decimal point is jumping over 2 spots to the right. 1, 2. Now what's really happening is all the digits are sliding 2 spaces to the left on a place value chart, but pretend the decimal point started here, bounce it over 1, 2 spots. I've got an empty hole, so I need to put in a 0, fill the egg carton, 580. Okay. Let's do one more. Let's do 24 divided by 1/100th. And we could really even do up to thousandths, but you won't need to know that for this lesson. 24 divided by 1/100th, excuse me. Should stop talking about the other stuff right now. 24 divided by 1/1000th. I have 24 pizzas, and everybody gets 1/1000th of the pizza. That would be like 3 pieces of cheese, probably. Ridiculous. But let's multiply anyway. How many of those little servings could I make? 24 divided by 1,000. 24 times 1,000. 24, 1, 2, 3. There would be 24,000 of those things. We'll talk more in class about how division and multiplication are connected. Division, in a lot of ways, is the opposite of multiplication. That's kind of why this is working. If you remember, we also drew some pictures for lesson 4-25 where I showed you a whole being broken up into fractional parts. The same thing is happening here. We just didn't draw any because tenths, hundredths, we would have spent a lot of time drawing. If you have any questions, put them on a sticky note, write them down, let me know. We'll talk about it during class, we'll do some practice, but I'm hoping that once you notice this trick, it'll go pretty smoothly. That's it for now. Thank you, folks. I will see you next time.